Take manifolds off, we'll pull the push rod clips and slacken the push rods so that when we go to pull the rocker boxes off and the rocker arms out, there's no force on the valve train. So pull them loose. Low budget special tools. This out of the way. 2 7/16 wrenches on the S&S push rods. Put that nut all the way down to the bottom on the quickies. And thread the adjuster all the way up to collapse it. It also works best if you have this on the base circle so that the valves aren't open, which the front cylinder is on this. So, there we go. Okay, now we can move on to the rocker box disassembly. There's just 6 7/16 or 3/16 Allen bolts on top of here. Anytime you're working with a cover that has multiple bolts in it, it's always best to work from the outside in so as not to warp the cover and kind of crack them loose. So this particular cover has 6 bolts, you know, 3 here and 3 here. I took the 2 or the 4 corners out loose, and then I did the center ones. So trying to keep your covers from warping as you take something apart, and that's why they have torque patterns when you put something together as well, so that you do a crisscross and start in the center and work your way to the outside. Now when you get to the rear cylinder, of course the rocker box is closer to the frame, so you'll probably have to use the closed end of the wrench, and it's going to be more of a challenge to get those fasteners off. And there are of course specialty tools that are lower profile to get in there, but for the most part you can get it with a standard wrench if you just take your time. So now that we've got all the bolts out, we can pull this top cover and just give it a little shove there, and there you have the rocker box top lid. Okay, next we'll take out the rocker box support and the breather assembly here. So we need a 3/8 ratchet wrench or socket, whichever. Start with these small bolts. And then the 4 main bolts for the rocker arms are a 1/2 inch. Okay, then just lift it out and set it on the bench. Okay, and the next step is to take off the rocker base, and you get 6 bolts here. They're all 7/16 or as well 3/16 Allen in the center. And here again I kind of work from the outside towards the center, just breaking them loose. Now as you take this stuff off, you don't necessarily have to keep track of which one was front and rear because everything is universal front to rear. So of course I usually lay stuff on the bench so that the front goes where on the right and the rear is on the left, but it's not as critical to keep track of them because it's going to go on with a different head eventually and mate with a different valve stem and all that. But for what we're doing here, it's just a big bore. And then these 2 bolts right here are of course longer than the other 4 bolts. So pretty simple.
Oh, right. Don't ask me about that stuff.
Okay, next thing we can just pull this gasket off so we can get at the head bolts. And we're going to need a 12-point half-inch socket to remove these 4 bolts. Okay, I got the longest ratchet that I can because these are going to be pretty tight. Torque sequence for these bolts going on is 1, 2, 3, 4, so I go in the opposite order when I'm loosening them. And they go tight and just crack them loose and work your way around. Okay, now that we got the head bolts out, we can pull the head off. And of course there's oil in the top here, so as you pull it off and roll it over, it's gonna leak everywhere. So, or you can just carry it upside. So there's the inside of the stock Harley cylinder head. Okay, head's off. Now we're gonna pull the cylinder and just break it loose. Ease it off so the piston don't go slamming around. Okay, and we get the piston up where we can do some work on it. Get the wrist pin clips out and slide the wrist pin out and get the piston off. Now that we got the cylinder off, we're going to prevent the wrist pin clip from falling into the flywheel cavity by inserting a rag here in the bore carefully. And then now we just use a pick and insert it in here alongside. There's a little notch in the piston that you can get alongside that clip. And of course keep your safety glasses on and keep your finger in front of the clip so that it doesn't go flying. But just ease it out of the groove like so. And there you have a clip. Now, a lot of times the wrist pin will, depending on how many miles are on the vehicle, the wrist pin will raise a burr in the clip groove, and then the wrist pin won't want to come out. So we have a special tool here that we use. It's a piston pin puller. Take the nut and the washer off, stick it through the bore, put the nut and washer back on. And then you essentially thread the wrist pin out of the bore. And sometimes, if they're loose enough, you can just pull on the tool and get the wrist pin to come out of the bore. This one seems to be tight. There, it's starting to come out.